So a couple of years ago, I decided to go camping because I wanted some silence. No phones buzzing, no people talking, just trees, fire, and whatever thoughts were going on inside my head. I drove out to a state campsite I'd never been to before. Deep woods, long dirt roads, the kind of place where the GPS starts acting funny. On the way in, I passed by a few people. A couple in an RV waved. I waved back. And a group of guys I saw from afar were laughing and staring at me for a bit too long, like they were ready to rob my ass or some shit. And one older man barely nodded when I said what's up. You know, his face was just kind of tight, like he didn't trust anybody out there. But I didn't think too much of it. I didn't give a fuck. But nonetheless, I picked a spot far enough away from everybody else, close to the tree line, backed up against thick woods. I set up my tent as soon as the sun started dipping, cracked open a beer, cooked myself some nice food over the fire. Flames danced, sparks popped, everything felt peaceful. That wasn't until I noticed somebody around the way. It was a woman. She was just staring at me from a distance, just above the firelight. At first, I thought she was just another camper who wandered too close. She looked thin, pale. Her clothes were old looking and like they had been worn for weeks without ever being washed. Her hair hung down in messy strands, barely moving in the breeze. "Hey!" I called out. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer. She stepped closer, just enough for the firelight to hit her face. Her eyes looked wrong, not empty, just distant, like she was looking through me. I felt uncomfortable, but I didn't want to be rude. "You want to sit? I got some food," I said. And then that's when she started whispering. I leaned forward trying to hear her out, but I really couldn't make out anything she was saying. And then she slowly backed away, step by step, into the trees. She didn't turn around, she didn't blink, she just faded right into the darkness, like the woods just swallowed her into another dimension. I sat there for a long time after that, just fire crackling, heart pounding, telling myself, I just imagine it. Maybe she was high, mentally ill, I don't know, maybe she was just messing with me. Eventually, when the night started to kick in, I crawled my ass right into the tent. The forest was a bit louder at night. Crickets, wind, distant branches snapping. I was drifting off to sleep when I heard something. A whisper. That same one, right outside my damn tent. Then footsteps. They were slow, careful, so I held my breath, grabbed my flashlight, and zipped the tent open. The beam cut through the dark, and there was nothing. No footprints, no movement, just trees and shadows. I was scared as hell. So I didn't sleep much after that. The next day I went hiking to calm my nerves, deep into the trail. I came across another campsite. Very small, messy, half abandoned. I saw that same woman, standing right against the tree. She was there. This time I froze. "Hey!" I said again, louder this time. She stared at me, didn't blink, didn't speak. I backed away slowly, just every instinct screaming at me to leave. And as I turned and walked off, I felt her eyes just on my back the entire time. Like she would just wait for a motherfucker to slip up any second now. But I didn't pay that shit no mind. I didn't have time for these damn games. So I walked the rest of the way through and eventually made my way back to camp. When I got back to my campsite, my stomach instantly dropped. My tent was knocked over, my food was gone, cooler tipped open, beer's can crushed, my gear just thrown around like they were nothing. And at first I was thinking to myself, was this some sort of animal that did this shit? But animals don't unzip tents. Animals don't empty a backpack and leave everything nearly scattered. This was a person, and the first person that popped in my head was the woman. That same one. She was on my ass. I was getting pissed off real fast, so I moved off about a half a mile deeper into a more open patch. Set up camp again before dark, and I didn't light a fire this time. And I barely ate anything, I was so pissed off. It had to be somewhere around 1:30 in the morning. I know because I remember checking my phone before I passed out. The fire was dead, the forest was black. I was deep asleep when it happened. A scream ripped through the woods. Not a yell, not a shout, just a full-body, terrified scream. I bolted upright so fast I hit my head on top of the damn tent. And for a second I thought I dreamed it. And then it came again, closer. And then it cut off abruptly. My heart started hammering so hard I felt like it was vibrating in my ears. "Hello?" I shouted from inside the tent. But there was nothing. Just another scream. Someone needed help. This was not an imagination, so I grabbed my flashlight and zipped the tent, and I bolted the fuck out of there. And I bolted straight towards the screams. I felt nothing but the cold air hitting my face. "Hey, where are you?" I yelled, but there was no answer. But then I heard something. Branches snapping, movement, about 50 yards out. I ran towards it, leaves crunching under my boots with the beam of life bouncing everywhere. "Hey, call out again! Tell me where you are! Where are you?" I yelled. But there was silence, and then another scream. Like it was much far away now. That didn't make any sense. There was nothing, nobody. And then another scream, even fainter. It felt like the sound was pulling away from me, like it was leading me somewhere. My breathing got heavier. "Stop moving, I'm trying to find you," I shouted, but there was no response. The woods swallowed my voice. I stopped walking, just my breathing, and then I heard footsteps behind me. They were coming fast and heavy, and then that's when I felt they were charging at me. So I spun around and I saw a figure bursting through the trees, with their hood up, face hidden in the shadows, with a knife catching moonlight in their hand. Branches whipped my arms, my flashlight flew out of my hand, and I heard them crashing behind me. Just leaves kicking up, boots pounding, and I did not look back. If I looked back, I'd trip. If I tripped, I was dead. I sprinted until my lungs burned, until my legs felt like they were going to collapse, until the footsteps stopped completely. Gone. I kept running another 20 yards before I stopped, and then there was silence. I turned slowly, nothing behind me, just trees and darkness. My ears rang. I was scared as fuck. I sat there in the dark trying to breathe quietly. What the hell was that? I said to myself. I replayed it over and over in my head. The hoodie, the knife, the way they charged at me. Heavy footsteps. That wasn't gliding. That wasn't whispering. Was it the woman? Was it a man? I mean, their shoulders looked broad, but the hoodie hid everything, so I couldn't really see much. And the woman that I saw earlier, I mean, she was wearing a hoodie too. Could it have been her? Was she faking the screaming, trying to lure me to something? Or was it somebody else using the scream to bait me? My brain wouldn't settle on just one answer. The knife kept flashing in my head. Someone out there was out to get me, and I knew I had to get away from here as far as I could. But I told myself I wasn't going to panic. I barely slept, but when the sun came up, everything felt smaller, imaginable, just less dramatic. The nightfall made everything worse, but the sun just made everything feel peaceful. I decided that I need proof. If someone was out there, I needed to know who. So I went back out. The same trail, same clearing. The woods felt normal again, but when I reached the clearing, my stomach dropped. Her campsite was still there, but it looked worse in daylight. No tent, no fire pit, just a flattened sleeping bag, half buried in dirt. The fabric looked damp. I stepped closer, and that's when I saw it. Blood. A lot of it. It soaked through the sleeping bag. I felt my pulse spike. That wasn't someone just living rough. This was a scene, a violent one. I scanned the ground around it, indications that somebody might have been dragged out of here. And then I saw something tucked under a rock, a folded piece of paper, half soaked through. I hesitated before picking it up. My hands were shaking when I unfolded it. The writing was rushed, quite messy, like someone didn't have much time. He watches the ones alone. If you hear screaming, don't follow it. He wants you away from the fire. What the hell? What did this mean? I couldn't make anything out of it. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. It sounded like somebody was in trouble, but I just couldn't make sense of it. It felt like somebody was playing games, but I didn't have time for this shit. I started making my way back to the camp until I heard a sudden voice. Hey! A guy stepped up from the trail behind me. Late 30s maybe, beard, ball cap, relaxed posture. Hey, did you hear that screaming last night? He asked, casually, like we were talking about the weather or some shit. My stomach tightened. Yeah, I said carefully. You heard it too? The guy nodded slowly. Yeah, it sounded like a woman or something. It freaked me out. We started walking side by side along the trail. The woods didn't feel as oppressive with somebody else there. That alone kind of calmed me down just a bit. Yeah, I was thinking about calling the park rangers or something, but it stopped, he said. Yeah, it just stopped when I went looking, I said. Wait, you went looking? He said. Yeah. I said. A small pause. Huh, that's quite brave, the guy said. Something about the tone wasn't admiration, it was just interest, I guess. But I was comfortable enough to tell him about the screams, about the footsteps, about somebody chasing me, the mystery woman. I told him everything. He listened very closely. And probably just some teenagers messing around. People do dumb stuff out here, he said. It didn't sound like teenagers, though, I replied. The guy shrugged, sounded reasonable, calm, grounded. So, you camping alone? The guy asked. Yeah, I said. Same, he said. Another pause. You want to come by my site later? The guy offered. I got some chili going and, a couple of drinks. Might be good not to sit out here alone tonight, It sounded harmless enough, so I said, fuck it, why not? And after last night, company didn't sound too bad. He told me his name was Mark. At least that's what he said. We sat across from each other by the fire while the chili simmered in a dented metal pot. It smelled good, pretty good. He told me he worked construction, took solo trips to reset, said the woods helped him think. Yeah, I come out here every year. People underestimate how quiet it gets, he said. I nodded. He asked about my job, my family, if I had a girlfriend. Just casual conversation. Nothing invasive. We ate the chili straight from the metal bowls. Soda cans cracked open. The warmth of the fire made everything feel stable again. You know what's funny? He said. That scream last night. It sounded real. But if someone was actually getting attacked, why didn't you find anything? He said. But the way he said it made my stomach shift. Not concerned, just curious. Like he was analyzing a puzzle. I shrugged it off. I don't know, maybe they ran. I don't know. I said. Yeah, he said, staring into the fire. Or maybe they didn't. Something about that line lingered, but I pushed it away. Nothing too crazy. I didn't want to be paranoid about virtually the only friendly face out here. Later on, it got pretty late. The woods started to quiet down, and Mark stood up and stretched. You can crash here if you want, he said. Safer than walking back alone. That sounded logical, so I said, fuck, why not? He handed me a spare sleeping bag. I appreciate it, I said. No problem. We'll laugh about this tomorrow, he said. So he went into his tent and zipped it closed. I laid there down by the dying fire, staring up at the stars. And for the first time since arriving, I felt almost safe. Almost. I woke up that morning and knew something was immediately wrong. The fire was completely dead. The woods were quiet. Everything just felt too quiet around me. I sat up slowly, calling out for Mark. Hey, Mark, I said. But there was no answer. His tent was only 10 feet away, flat open. Not torn, not disturbed, just open. Mark, I called out again. No answer. So I stood up. My legs felt weak. His boots were still outside the tent. That was kind of odd, I said to myself. Phone on the ground near the fire pit. Screen cracked. But as I kept calling his name, I just didn't get a response. So I walked to the tent. And inside, the sleeping bag still laid out, unzipped, indent in the fabric like someone had been laying there. But no blood, no signs of a struggle, just absence. My chest tightened. He didn't pack up. He didn't walk back to the main trail. He didn't grab his boots. He didn't take his phone. He didn't leave. It was like he was taken, like someone kidnapped him. And then that's when I heard something shift in the trees. I froze, because about 30 yards out, between two thick pines, a hooded figure stood in the shadow. Face completely obscured, still watching. I couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. It didn't move, it didn't rush, it didn't speak. It just stood there like it had all the time in the world. My stomach dropped. If I stayed another minute, I wasn't leaving. I didn't yell back. I didn't charge at him. I didn't investigate anything. I just packed my shit as calm as I could, and I ran. When I looked back towards the trees, the figure was gone. Just trees again. Like nothing had been there the first time. So I bothered not looking back. And I didn't stop. I just told myself not to overreact. And from that point on, I just drove back home. I couldn't bear to stay another night here. And whatever happened to Mark, I just hope he was okay. 3 days later, I saw on the news that 2 bodies had been found in the woods. One male camper, identified as Mark Jensen, remains located buried half a mile from the campground, reported missing weeks earlier. She had been staying alone, last seen wearing a gray hoodie. Police confirmed foul play. They believed a serial offender was operating in multiple parks. No suspect in custody. Investigation ongoing. The news showed her photo, and I knew immediately it was her, the woman in the trees, the one who whispered, the one who stood near my fire, the one who had left that note in her campsite. It turns out, she wasn't stalking me. She wasn't threatening me. She had been warning me. She knew somebody was after her, and she knew he watched the ones alone. And she tried. God, she tried. But Mark wasn't suspicious. He wasn't the killer. He was just another man who thought sitting by a fire with company meant safety. And the hooded figure I saw earlier that morning that was chasing me the night before, it wasn't the woman, and it definitely sure as hell wasn't Mark. That bastard is still out there. And I hope both of them get justice for this shit.